Uganda-Tanzania 2024, which will be staged from 2nd to 30th August 2025. Amongst the 4 groups in the tournament A to D, Kenya is pooled in Group A, together with Morocco, Angola, DR Congo and Zambia.
Algeria from the set piece, the header is on target, but it's saved.
This unique competition featuring the best locally based players from across the continent definitely has something for everyone. Just bring your A game as you let it flow live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
We are talking about infertility, a name that carries a lot of pain, misunderstanding, and often judgment from a society that equates motherhood to womanhood.
And then you also start wondering, am I broken? Is there something wrong with me? Am I not a woman enough? Yes. Am I, like you start owning the blame and the shame.
Anatomical factors like the varicocele. Varicocele can happen with the time. The men are fertile in their 20s or early 30s, but after the varicocele, it can affect the sperm productions.
It would be so devastating. Like there are times I have cried in the bathroom, there are times I have cried in the shower, there are times I've cried on the bathroom floor, just wondering, God, like what is this? Like why would this be happening to me?
At least go to the screening about fertility screening,
exactly.
Whether they are having a problem or not. Otherwise they will keep on hoping and trying or delaying for social reason or for any career reason, and then when they plan for the baby, then it's not then working.
You see, another good example. Uko na examples mingi sana za watu za kuangalia, lakini huwezi kubali. For crying out loud.
Nikawa anazushiana.
Anazushiana na madhangu?
Relax, Buddha, take it.
We went to Mombasa to find some findings about the death of Joyce, and now it turns out that I'm not the bad guy at all.
We need to find out, because my experience with those two, they can't be up to anything good.
We recently discovered that Ken was having an affair with your beautiful wife.
What?
Second day of July 2025 it is. Good afternoon and a warm welcome to KBC Lunchtime News. Glad you could make a time. We have a detailed and loaded bulletin right here for you. And on the business segment, today we'll be looking at AI, that is artificial intelligence, when it comes to health. How can it help? I'll be joined by Dr. Nicholas Njue, but that's a little bit later. But first, let's have a look at the headline shaping up the news conversation in the country and beyond at this hour. I'm Njue, and my colleague on the sign language interpretation will appear on your screen in the next couple of seconds. Tension is high in Bendera area within Kapenguria West Pokot after the body of a 7-year-old boy who went missing 3 weeks ago was found damned in a maize plantation, badly decomposed. The shocking murder comes amid a series of child disappearances in the area, with residents fearing a deeper and more sinister plot involving trafficking of human body parts, which they now fear for their children's safety. According to Diana Cherop, her son, Brighton Perur, disappeared while in the company of 2 children who she termed as the suspect after they denied seeing her son.
Kitu kama saa 3 hivi nikaenda kuamsha au nikamuuliza Brighton amekuja kwa hapa, akasema hapana, mamake ndo aliitika. Nikamwambia kinakaa kwa na amekuja bado. Nikarudi nikaenda nikatafuta huko Bendera paka town hakuna, hivyo ndo nikakuja.
Ni mtu mbaya sana na tunamkemea kwa njia kubwa, the strongest terms possible, kwa sababu amefanya jambo ambalo hatujawahi kuona kwa area hii, na tunampea onyo kwamba mtu yoyote ambayo ana nia na madhumuni ya kufanya mambo kama hayo kwa watoto wadogo wasio na hatia asijaribu kupita area.
Education Principal Secretary Professor Julius Bitok says the country is closing in on a 1 to 25 student-teacher ratio. Speaking at Osen High School in Baringo during a Thanksgiving event for last year's KCSE results, the PS revealed that over 100,000 teachers will be hired by 2026 under the Kenya Kwanza administration. An additional 24,000 teachers are set to be recruited this financial year to support the competency-based education. Professor Bitok also announced a 15 million shillings allocation to complete the school's administration block, highlighting ongoing investments in education infrastructure. And after the hue and cries by environmentalists over the felling of trees at the historic Uhuru Gardens nestled along the busy Moi Avenue overlooking the iconic elephant tusks, the county government of Mombasa has partnered with the Center for International Forestry Research and Wild Agroforestry to restore the ecological, social and economic value of the garden. Huge trees, most over a century old, bestride the 1.1-acre garden. The trees provide habitat for a Dolon helvam, also known as the straw-colored fruit bats. Take a look.
I've seen some bit of degradation at the park over the years, and now we want to focus on rehabilitating this park to bring in more, nature, make it cleaner, and to bring in more people into the park so that it can continue to offer the kind of ecological and economic opportunities that it's supposed to offer for the people of Mombasa. Just also enhance perceptions of our people about trees. Especially when there are certain things that are noticed about a tree and people feel that it could pose an hazard on people. And so, just to protect people, some decisions have to be made.
And still at the coast, about 600 youths in Malindi, Kilifi County are set to benefit from a new government-backed initiative aimed at reducing unemployment and curbing rising insecurity in the area. The program, spearheaded by Malindi Member of Parliament Amina Mnyanzi, targets vulnerable youth, many of whom dropped out of primary or secondary school, and aims to offer them technical training opportunities. Parents and community leaders have welcomed the move, describing it as a critical step in addressing both unemployment and crime in the region. The first group of trainees is expected to report to local technical institutions in the coming weeks as preparations for the rollout continue.
Na hii program number 1 ni kuweza kusaidia wale vijana wetu wenye ambao wako kule mitaani, na number 2 tunaweza kusaidia masuala ya insecurity ndani ya Malindi. Na vijana wengi saizi hawana kazi, vijana wengi saizi hawana ujuzi, vijana wengi saizi wako mitaani, na ndio maana sisi tumesema kama mbunge sina uwezo wa kupatia watu wengi kazi, na kama mnavyojua saizi masuala ya tourism yameweza kuharibika ndani ya Malindi, but haimaanishi ya kwamba tukae tu bila kusaidia vijana wetu.
It's a very big opportunity kwa sisi centers za vocational. Kwanza zitainua vyuo vyetu ambavyo muda na mara nyingi vimekuwa vikidharauliwa, vilikuwa vinajulikana kama Polytechnic.
Hakika ameleta mambo mazuri ya kwamba atakusanya vijana wetu na kuwasupport waende kwa vocational training colleges akiwadhamini yeye.
And still on job creations, Labour and Skills Development Principal Secretary Shadrach Mwadime is leading a delegation to various cities in Germany to follow up on bilateral labour agreements that Kenya and Germany signed last year. The agreements created a framework for cooperation and information exchange on labour mobility, apprenticeships, student trainings and industrial attachments for the Kenyan youth. Discussions focused on market needs in Germany, how Kenya can prepare to meet employer expectations, and addressing adaptability, integration, and mindset challenges for Kenyan youth arriving in Germany.
This is a strategy that we have as a government because we have to protect the interests of our young people when they come to work in Germany. So in our discussions with the top echelons in government, we have agreed in the next financial year we'll have 10 labor attaches being deployed to various countries.
Second possibility is to come as a skilled worker, as an expert, for example, in engineering or as an IT professional. Of course, therefore, the qualification, the professional qualification is crucial.
Some politics and governance now, where a new political outfit, the 47 Voices of Kenya Congress Party, has been officially granted a provisional certificate by the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. The youth-led party, which seeks to offer an alternative platform for all 47 communities in Kenya, is now set to embark on a nationwide recruitment drive. According to the party's chairman and acting leader, Wycliffe Kamanda, the party, which runs under the slogan Voices Everywhere, is determined to amplify the concerns and aspirations of Kenyans across the country, as well as ensure the values of the young leaders are reflected. The party commended the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties for guidance and professionalism through the 2-year registration journey.
Mamlaka mawili ya kukuza chama na kuandikisha wanachama. Si hatuangalii vyama vingine, tunajiangalia kama sisi. Sera zetu za wanasauti hatuzioni kwa hivyo vyama vingine. So tumekuja na sera zetu, ideology yetu ya chama ambayo ni nationalism.
As manifested by our slogan, Sauti Kila Mahali, Voices Everywhere, and symbol of a silver bell, it is evident that this party is a coalition of patriots.
And away from that, a family in Kagumo, Kirinyaga Central in Kirinyaga County is mourning the death of 28-year-old Brian Maina, who was killed during the Gen Z-led demonstrations on June the 25th in Nairobi. According to the family, a medical scan revealed that Brian was hit at the back of the head by a blunt object, sustaining severe injuries that led to internal bleeding. Despite being rushed to hospital by his friends, he succumbed to his injuries while receiving treatment. The family is now appealing for support as they prepare to lay their son to rest on Friday this week.
Ndio tulipata ripoti ya Brayo amegongwa. Alikuwa kwa maandamano na amegongwa na askari, lakini amechukuliwa na marafiki zake, amepelekwa home. Sasa tulipowasiliana na huko tukawaambia wapelekeni hospitali. Saa baada ya kupelekwa hospitali turudi kusikia ameaga.
Babu yake ndiye amemlea, ndiye amekaa na yeye sasa. Ndiye alikuwa sio kama for example nikaa naye PO wake. Yule alikuwa anajua vitu zote za babu yake. Brayo ameoa na kuna watoto wawili.
Wasikilize hao watoto. Si ati wao watoto wana ubaya. Hapana tu, wanataka tu wasikilizwe, wapatiane their grievances, alafu president kutoka hapo hivyo ajue vile ambavyo atatatua hii shida ya hao watoto. Na tunataka haki ifanyike kwa Brian wetu.
Moving on, the 4th edition of the Peace Ultra Marathon Isiolo was flagged off with emphasis on the need to involve more young people from pastoralist communities in peace-building initiatives. More than 110 participants, predominantly from youth from Isiolo, Marsabit, Meru, Laikipia and Samburu, took part in the 50-kilometer run dedicated to promoting peace across regions affected by inter-community conflict.
Naona hii peace link inachangia sana mpande ya amani. Manake ile vurugu na vita ya kupigania mali hapo mbeleni imepungua. Sababu tunakutana sisi vijana wenye wange cause conflict, tunaongea, tunakaa chini, tunakuwa marafiki.
In other news, a section of Muslim leaders in the coastal region has strongly opposed a recent Supreme Court ruling that allows children born out of wedlock to inherit property from their deceased Muslim fathers, terming it a violation of Islamic law and the jurisdictions of Catholic courts. Speaking during a press briefing in Mombasa, the cleric said the judgment undermines constitutionally recognized religious freedoms and contradicts the teachings of Islam regarding inheritance. They called on the government and legal institutions to intervene and protect the application of Islamic personal law as guaranteed in the Constitution. Elsewhere, water vendors and suppliers in Homa Bay are raising concerns over a recent increase in water tariffs by the Homa Bay Water and Sanitation Company. They say the hike on the price per cubic meter is unbearable in the current economic times and could force many of them out of business. They are now petitioning, the water company to review and reduce the charges that have gone from a previous 35 shillings to 145 shillings per cubic meter. Homa Wasco Managing Director Tom Njue, however, defended this move, saying the revised tariffs were proposed and approved by the Water Services Regulatory Board.
Initially, we are paying at 35 for watt meter cube, and now it arose to 145. And this should not be. I have those who are surviving from me, like school-going children and many others. How can this help me?
It's too high. So if I supply it out, also make me to add something there, which is not possible for my customers to pay.
Tunapata maji kwa bei juu sana. Ili mtu kama mimi siwezi kuafford. Sasa naomba water Wasco wa Homa Bay wakae chini, waongene na hao wenye wanauza maji kwa kuhusu hii bei ya maji.
From Homa Bay to Baringo County, Where kangaroo courts that have for a long time dispensed informal justice in Baringo South are now gradually being phased out as the region makes a significant step to establish a formal judicial system in Marigat. The courts, being constructed courtesy of a partnership between area NGCDF and the judiciary, have been hailed by the residents and religious leaders who termed the move long overdue. They have also appealed for the establishment of Kadhi courts to serve the Muslim community in the region.
Kwa vile koti imekuja hapa, nadhani shida nyingi zitaweza kutatuliwa hapa. Kama vile mwanzo ilikuwa ikifanywa zikitatuliwa manyumbani na vitotoroni, sahihi hizi kesi ambazo kwamba zinasumbua watu zitatatuliwa na mahakama na itasaidia wananchi sehemu kubwa sana.
Tumepanga mpangilio ya kufunza watu, kuhamasisha watu wajue kwamba kotini ni yao na kotini ni ya raia, na kotini, lengo ya kotini ni kutafutia mtu haki yake. So hiyo itaweza kufupisha kwa wingi kabisa hiyo mambo ambayo umeweza kutaja vizuri.
Tumekuwa na cases, especially cases za domestic violences na mambo na children's abuse, lakini cha kushangaza ni kwamba kila tukifanya case kuna mahali hatuna uamuzi wa kuweza kuamua cases mpaka kadhi, na utakuta mara nyingi tunatuma wale ambao kwamba wamezozana waende Nakuru, kwa sababu Nakuru, kadhi wa Nakuru ndio wanasafu mpaka Marigat. Kwa hivyo inakuwa ni hatua ndefu na mtu kuchukua nafasi ya kwenda mpaka kule Nakuru.
Kisii County has been labeled as one of the least accommodating regions for persons with disabilities, often denying them access to buildings and essential services. While speaking in Kisii during a wheelchair distribution event where 450 wheelchairs were handed over to beneficiaries, Walkabout Foundation Director Carol Moreithi criticized the neglect of laws requiring buildings to be disability-friendly. She noted that this has resulted in wheelchair users being excluded from accessing retail outlets and other facilities. Moreithi also decried the challenges faced by persons with disabilities in acquiring disability assessment certificates and the lack of adequate training for children with disabilities to help them become self-reliant.
Saa hii Kisii, mahali ya mlemavu kwa access ni ngumu sana, na ni Kisii. Saa hii ukienda hata kwa supermarket ni ngumu sana kwa access Kisii ukiwa mlemavu. Walemavu si kusema hatupendi kwenda happy, tunapenda kwenda happy hata sisi, lakini hakuna mahali unaweza ingia, zote ziko juu. So in case, why do you think that mlemavu ana haki? So tukijenga mahali, okay, mumeka sheria, lakini sheria zinaangaliwa, haziangaliwi. Sasa hivi tunaweza pata mahali ya huwezi lala, hakuna wali unaweza access room ya wheelchair, but it's a high time we think tuweza wasaidia walemavu aje, hata kama ni biashara ndogo ndogo. Unapata serikali yetu, okay, inajali wa mama na watu wa boda boda, lakini ukisikia hakuna mahali walemavu wamefanya nini, wametajwa. So wanaweza fanya nini hata wao wa target walemavu juu ni wengi.
Now, a section of teen mothers from Githunguri, Kiambu County have benefited from a nutrition training program aimed at equipping them with the skills for healthier living. The program, organized by the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, JKUAT, emphasized, among others, the importance of consuming indigenous vegetables and a balanced diet. Speaking during the event, Professor Mary Abukutsa, a horticulture expert at JKUAT, said the training was initiated after realizing that most teen mothers consume unhealthy foods which contribute to lifestyle diseases.
What inspired this program, especially promotion of African indigenous vegetables, is because we see that currently people are consuming unhealthy foods. We want the children, like their mothers, to be also healthy. And also the same vegetables have a potential of commercial production, so that apart from just eating, feeding for health and for strength, they can also have income generation.
Time to make sense of business. Now, over 1,200 smallholder dairy farmers in Gatondo South are set to benefit from improved milk quality and higher income following the government's delivery of a 5,000-litre milk cooler in the Ndarugu Dairy Farmers Cooperative Society. Livestock Development Principal Secretary Jonathan Mweke says this is part of a wider government program to distribute 230 milk coolers across 40 counties.
The dairy sector contributes over 4% to the national GDP while supporting the livelihoods of more than 1.8 million smallholder farmers. With an annual milk production of over 5 billion litres, the sector holds immense potential for economic growth and job creation, especially if supported by modern infrastructure, among other targeted interventions.
Tumenunua coolers 230 na zitaenda kwa counties karibu 40, na tulisema tutaanzia kwanza na zile counties ziko na maziwa mingi zaidi.
The cooler, which will increase the Ndarago Dairy Farmers Cooperative's handling capacity from 6,000 to 11,000 litres, aims to reduce milk spoilage and help farmers meet market standards.
Bereni maziwa yetu tulikuwa tuna cool na facility tofauti kama 3 zikiandamana. Sasa maziwa yetu kwa kiwango kikubwa itakuwa inawekwa kwa mashini moja.
Cost of production ambayo inaletwa na ukosefu wa mitungi, kwamba unapata gari imeenda route na haijamaliza route yote inarudi, hiyo ni diesel inatumika. Na wakati mwingi hizo safari zikiwa nyingi, unapata hata time ya kucollect maziwa inakuwa nyingi, lakini tukuwa na kula na cans, tutaweza kufanya hiyo biashara kwa nafuu zaidi kuliko vile ilivyo sasa.
Inatokana na programu nyingine tuko nayo, tunaita quality based payment ya wakulima wa maziwa, kuhakikisha quality ya maziwa yako ikiwa juu vizuri, ikiwa na butter fat iko juu, ikiwa na protein iko juu, ikiwa na bakteria iko chini, ile factory itakulipa shilingi ingine 10 juu ya ile unapata.
In addition, a nationwide livestock vaccination campaign is underway to combat diseases such as foot and mouth disease and PPR, aimed at improving heart health and unlocking access to international markets. Trevor Ngendo for Lunchtime News.
Further afield, U.S. banking giants announced plans on Tuesday to raise their third-quarter dividends following last week's successful clearance of the Federal Reserve's annual health check. The decisions come after the lenders demonstrated against a severe economic downturn, surging unemployment and market turmoil.
In a significant move for the U.S. banking sector, J.P. Morgan Chase has announced a dividend hike of $1.50 a share, along with a new $50 billion share repurchase program. This comes as other major banks, including Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, and Citigroup, also increased their dividends and announced buyback plans. These capital distributions follow the Federal Reserve's latest stress tests, which found banks to be resilient, retaining an average common equity Tier 1 capital ratio of 11.6%, well above the 4.5% regulatory minimum. Meanwhile, Australian airline Qantas is contacting customers after a cyber attack targeted their third-party customer service platform. On 30th June, the Australian airline detected unusual activity on a platform used by its contact center to store the data of 6 million people, including names, email addresses, phone numbers, birth dates, and frequent flyer numbers. In a statement, Qantas says it took immediate steps and contained the system upon detection of the breach. The company is still investigating the full extent of the breach, but says it is expecting the proportion of data stolen to be significant. Qantas has notified the Australian Federal Police of the breach, as well as the Australian Cyber Security Centre and the Office of the Australian Information Commissioner. Finally, Japan's manufacturing sector showed a glimmer of hope in June, expanding for the first time in 13 months, driven by an uptick in factory output. The Ojibun Bank Japan Manufacturing PMI edged up to 50.1, crossing the growth threshold. However, overall demand remains a concern, with new orders shrinking for the 25th consecutive month, largely due to uncertainty surrounding U.S. tariffs, particularly impacting the crucial automotive and semiconductor sectors. Despite these headwinds, manufacturers are cautiously optimistic about the future, increasing employment and production, though a sustained recovery hinges on a rebound in customer demand.
Very well, 30 minutes past the top of the hour. We are due for a fast break, but when we come back, as I had mentioned in the beginning of this broadcast, we will be looking at artificial intelligence in healthcare. Let's be joined by Dr. Nicholas Njue to shed more light on this very, very impressive technology.
Looking to advertise on KBC? KBC announcement services are now available on eCitizen. Visit kbc.ecitizen.go.ke and fill out the online application form. It's simple. 1. Complete the form. 2. Upload required documents. 3. Receive a quotation based on word count. And 4. Get notified via SMS when your announcement is ready. Please note, clearly indicate the type of announcement, service station, and all relevant details. 2. All applications must be made online only. Manual submissions will not be accepted. And 3. Announcements will air after news bulletins. For assistance, reach us on email ecitizen@kbc.co.ke or use our social media handles, Facebook, your Facebook account, and X at your X account. Or you can call us on 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124. KBC announcements. Simple, fast, and digital.
Nani? Jahazi. Jahazi? Kwa hakika Jahazi ameingia leo. Yuko wapi? Kwa Dorin.
Ina wakati wa matambara ya kitajiri.
Matambara ya kitajiri?
Ndio. Inda alijipata kwenye utajiri.
Mwanangu mpendwa. Njoo nikukumbatie. Njoo.
Chukua pesa zako na utuache. Ondoka sasa hivi.
Nikasimu kasema kuwa.
Nikasema Pasha amepelekwa ICU.
Ati nini?
Welcome back to Lunchtime News, and many thanks indeed for keeping me company. And I'm not alone now. We are also joined by Dr. Nicholas Njue to shed more light in regards to AI adoption in health. And you bear me witness that when we talk about artificial intelligence, we have seen it even in vehicles, we've seen it even in our homes, our appliances, but now we are crossing over to artificial intelligence in healthcare. Karibu sana, Daktari.
Asante sana.
Now, when we talk about AI adoption in healthcare, especially here in Kenya, we've seen it maybe in some other parts of the country or other parts of the world. What are we talking about?
Currently, as we speak, there are conversations with regards to policies that will determine how we're going to implement this in our country. So currently we are having a lot of roundtables, but at the same time we are having innovators around the country coming together and trying to find innovations that are going to make it accessible to Kenyans as we speak. Yeah.
How effectively do we leverage AI? I know Kenya is one of the the tech-savvy countries, and especially in Africa. In the region, I think we are the best. How to improve Kenya's healthcare systems? How do you leverage on AI?
One of the things is, as I said, policies are a really important thing because we can't move forward when our policies are stagnating the movement. So that's one of the things we can try and look into. The other thing is, how can we contextualize these AI models to fit our Kenyan contexts? For example, we are seeing the training data used by some of these big companies in the US and other places are really using the training data for their population. So how can we use our Kenyan data, our African data, to be able to give us a way forward on, or rather contextualize the experience for the Kenyans. So that's something you can look into.
Of course, a big opportunity, especially for the Gen Zs and any tech-savvy person out there. But we are looking at the Kenya doctor-to-patient ratio, which is not conducive. And actually, we have seen even a number of doctors find greener pastures outside. Could AI be used to complement this, or it will also pose a challenge as well?
I can say it's hopeful. There's a lot of hope, especially in the sector, given that, as you said, we have a huge burden. One doctor vis-a-vis the population is that there's a huge gap, and leveraging this, there's hope. There's hope that we can be able to actually bring in the doctor together with the AI, so that we can be able to complement, make we can be able to streamline the care from the point where the patient comes to the hospital, the point where they leave. If you're able to reduce that time, I think we can be able to do a good job in that sector.
I noted you are an AI health researcher. Exactly what does that entail? And I'm looking at the challenges also posed by AI. What are some of them?
So it entails, what basically it means is just right now we are in this phase where there's a huge, I can call it an exponential phase of AI. Before, we didn't really know much about it, but right now we are seeing it being implemented in a lot of these technologies. So basically what I do is I try and follow the trend, try and see where we are going with it, and how can we best implement it in our context. For the dangers, there are quite, as of any technology, for example, if we have a place where, for example, if, as I said, we haven't contextualized a lot of the information we're getting from the West. So for example, there's a lot of bias when it comes to the AI that's being used there, because again, it's being trained with their data. So we need to get to a point where we're able to train with our own data, with our own black skin, for example, when it comes to image recognition softwares or AI. So we need to be able to come to a place where we're able to train these models to fit into our Kenyan context, be able to understand the tropical diseases that we are currently facing in Africa and in Kenya.
And what about the challenge of data and privacy? AI is not doing a very good job in terms of that. How can we ensure that the medical records, data is kept private?
That's actually a very good question. That's something that a lot of industries are grappling with right now, especially even in Kenya right now. We have these stringent laws on data protection. So that's something you can really look into. For example, finding ways to be able to de-encrypt, de-identify this data of a patient. For example, with the name, we remove the name. We find ways of de-identifying this data as a start, and also just looking into ways that we can be able to secure our servers, whatever data we collect. That's something we really need to look into. And I agree that it's something that poses a great risk.
As a doctor, you have been in the healthcare, I believe, for a couple of years, and we have seen that health is a devolved unit, and we have a lot of challenges, and especially when it comes to SHA. How can SHA leverage on AI to maybe do away with some of the teething problems that we are seeing in the Social Health Authority?
I believe currently they are actually implementing some of those. They have systems which are able to automatically detect certain anomalies in the system. But I believe more can be done to be able to curb the leakages of finances, especially from the system, given that one, it's relatively new. So I believe that they do have some few things have implemented, but they can do much more.
And we've seen also health is devolved, and there is a way that we can also leverage on technologies, on AI technology in counties.
Yes.
But unfortunately, if we look at how the health system here in Kenya works, or how it is, a hospital in Nairobi will not be the same type, will not have the same resources, will not have the same doctors as a hospital in Turkana. And when we talk about leveraging on AI, I'm quite sure we want to leverage on AI in all the 47 counties.
Yeah.
How can counties leverage on this, despite the fact that we have a very big divide between some of the hospitals in some counties and others as well?
Yeah, I believe that if we do sensitization, especially for the doctors, and also the healthcare, basically all the healthcare providers across the country, if we do sensitization and bringing this new technology, again, it's something relatively new, especially for those people. Most of the doctors right now, you'll find some of them are a bit older. So if you're able to do sensitization for them to be able to understand this is something that it can help reduce the time from the patient, the time it takes for the patient to walk in to the time they walk out. I believe that's something we can be able to, the doctors can be able to, or rather the healthcare providers can be able to bridge that gap. The other thing is governance. Do governors understand this new technology? Because they will be part of the people implementing. I'm happy to see that there are certain governors who are actually in the forefront of leveraging technology for this, and I think it's the future is quite bright.
Doc, what kind of investment does Kenya need? Again, I'm basing my question on the infrastructure that we have, vis-a-vis some of the infrastructure in counties and some in Nairobi and big cities like Nakuru, Eldoret, and Mombasa, vis-a-vis what we have in counties as well.
I believe if we're able to invest, one, in the human resource, being able to talk to people about AI, how do you better use AI to do your day-to-day things, especially for the healthcare workers. That will be one of the steps. The other would be investing in, for example, storage centers across the county so that we can be able to have our data being stored in the country. The other thing is investing in, for example, GPUs. There's heavy investment in the West when it comes to this, the GPUs which actually process the AI. So what are we doing as a country and as counties to be able to increase our, processing speeds of some of these technologies to be able to implement them at home.
Before I ask you about the future of AI in healthcare, because we have seen the future of AI in phones and it's rapidly growing, you are a doctor in Kenya, so I need to ask you this. In regards to, you saw civil servants had private insurance covers. Now they were all onboarded in the SHA. Of course, as I said earlier, there are a lot of teething problems. But as a doctor, how do you think maybe we can sort out some of these issues we have?
When it comes to SHA, for example, I was looking at the data. Right now we are having, for example, 3 million people who are actually paying for the services, and vis-a-vis a registration of around 21 million. And so that would mean that the people who are paying for this are much less than the people who are enjoying. So what can we do to be able to increase the number of people who are paying? So that goes by having more people register, have more people pay the premiums, but also the government needs to get to a point where it's able to get the public trust. As you saw when they were rolling out SHA, there was a lot of what can we say, hiccups. So if they're able to manage some of those things, we can have more people register, pay the premiums. This will reduce the burden, especially on the civil servants, and also make it work better for Kenyans. Yeah.
We've noted, in as much as AI is developing technology is a little bit expensive, it's a little bit on the higher side, and we have seen our healthcare system needs a lot of money. How can we ensure that maybe we have partnerships so that we can bring the cost of AI down, that will also cascade to even that remote healthcare center in my village?
That's actually an interesting observation. Let me refer you back to COVID. During COVID, we were able to get subsidies for the vaccines that were coming to Africa. So I believe moving forward, we need to have conversations that we are going to have subsidies when it comes to GPUs I was looking at the companies which are currently ordering GPUs. They are quite expensive. So how can we be able to...
And for the purposes of our viewers, when you mention GPUs, what exactly are you talking about?
GPUs basically are processing units for some of this AI. They actually run faster than using the CPUs, which are the traditional kind of places where data runs. And so when we have government to government or government to having partners who are able to negotiate and have these things be brought locally so that we can use them locally for our own data.
And the future of AI is limitless and endless. And I would like to pick your mind in regards to AI in healthcare in Kenya. It's a new concept, but we will get there.
I believe with the current projection, with the current trend that is going on, I believe that there is so much that we can be able to unlock when it comes to AI in healthcare, especially in Kenya.
Final words.
My final words is that this is a new technology. We need to first be able to understand what does it bring to the table, what does it do for us, and also what are its limitations. So when we get to that understanding, we're able to move forward as a country, knowing how we can be able to best leverage this for our advantage.
Doc, many thanks indeed for shedding light in regards to matters healthcare and AI.
Thank you so much.
All the best.
Thank you so much.
I've been speaking to Dr. Nicholas Njonjo. Dr. Njonjo is an AI health researcher. We're talking about AI in healthcare, that is artificial intelligence. Many thanks indeed for that. Let's take a look at news from Europe. Kenya is fronting investment opportunities in infrastructure, green growth, digital transformation, and economic resilience in the UK while addressing the Kenya Investment Forum at the Law Society in London. President William Ruto highlighted Kenya's rise as a prime destination for global investment backed by readiness to modernize infrastructure and accelerate the digital economy.
Kenya has set aside an estimated 700 billion shillings to support development projects in the 2025-2026 financial year.
Ministers, distinguished friends, ladies and gentlemen.
The recent high-level Kenya government delegation to the UK, led by President William Ruto, alongside cabinet secretaries and investment agencies, is seen as a charm offensive to woo UK-based investors post-Brexit and secure funds to support key development projects in the current financial year.
We are now building global software solutions, scaling cross-border e-commerce, and expanding business process outsourcing.
Kenya is open for business. Kenya is ready for business. Kenya is safe for business, and we mean business.
Kenya is a nation on the move, an investment destination defined not only by opportunity, but by delivery.
The forum facilitated direct dialogues between the Kenyan delegation and international investors, UK policymakers, and CEOs, promoting strong public-private partnerships.
In the green investment agenda, Kenya has AGII, an organ to fast-track green energy and industrial investments and Green Investments Fund to de-risk green investment through co-equity investments.
Among those present were UK Member of Parliament Andrew Mitchell and UK Minister for Development, as well as African and global private sector leaders from finance, infrastructure, tech and energy sectors. Regina Manyara reporting for Lunchtime News.
Back home, the government has been encouraged to implement the land use policy to support agroecology and zone farming land. Council of Governors Environment and Climate Change Committee Chair Wilberforce Otichilo says the expansion of agriculture land has increased deforestation, depleting key water catchment areas, forcing farmers to increase use of synthetic chemicals to support agricultural production.
The Pest and Products Control Board banned 77 pesticides that were said to contain harmful substances. Agriculture experts now say the increased use of chemicals in agricultural production is as a result of climate change effects on food production. The Council of Governors Environment and Climate Change Committee says there is increased farmland expansion in key water catchment areas, leading to frequent droughts, with farmers turning to chemicals to sustain their production.
Mau complex, Cherengani complex, Mount Elgon, all these are major water catchment areas, but they have been encroached and degraded
area under farming, and that's of course causing deforestation. If you combine that with the challenge which we have, the bigger challenge with overuse of fertilizer, chemical fertilizer especially, is more to do with the health concerns that come with that.
The government has been encouraged to consider implementing the 2004 land use policy that, among other laws, gives direction on zoning of farmland.
A number of dry land areas which are suitable for pastoral grazing or livestock grazing. People have occupied those areas and converted them into agriculture.
Farmers have also been encouraged to practice agroecology for sustainable agricultural production.
Intercropping is one way in which farmers can build resilience, and especially if you can have intercropping where you can integrate, nitrogen-fixing crops.
Strengthening of seed systems has been touted to increase production, as farmers are encouraged to store climate-resilient seeds.
Farmers are able to preserve good quality seeds. Mostly they've done this a lot of time through their traditional means and methods of seed preservation.
Benson Njue reporting for Lunchtime News.
Manufacturing value chains of edible oil, leather and textiles across the East Africa Community Bloc EABC will receive a boost following a 130 million shillings grant agreement between the East African Business Council and the African Development Bank, ADB, to drive sustainable industrialization across the regional bloc. EABC says the funds will enhance industrial capacity through technical assistance, research, policy, dialogue, and capacity building. This will strengthen the East African private sector and seize trade and investment opportunities availed by the EAC Custom Union and Common Market Protocols and the 1.3 billion consumer market under African Continental Free Trade Area.
The signing of this agreement marks a significant milestone in advancing regional economic integration, growth, and competitiveness of East Africa Community priority manufacturing value chain of edible oil, textile, and leather products. We are thrilled to partner with the Africa Development Bank on this vital project that paves the way for stronger regional value chain, greater market access, and inclusive growth that benefit businesses and communities across East Africa.
And in sports, Kenya is ready to host the 2025 Africa Para Volley Championship this Friday at the Kasarani Indoor Arena, with more than 10 countries expected to participate. The top 2 teams will qualify for the 2025 World Para Volley Championship set to take place in October in the United States. The Kenyan teams will be going for the top honors after the women's team secured a silver medal behind Rwanda during the 2024 Africa Sitting Volleyball Championship held in Lagos, Nigeria. The women's team is drawn in a three-team affair alongside Rwanda and Nigeria. The men's competition features two groups with Kenya, Rwanda, and Algeria slotted in Group A, while Egypt, Morocco, Nigeria, and South Africa are drawn in Group B. The Kenya men's team will open their campaign against Algeria, while the women's team will begin their quest against Nigeria.
We have been just going out other countries, but this time we are on our motherland and we are expecting wonderful game.
Training imekuwa mzuri, tumekuwa tunakazana, makoches wameintroduce new system ambayo hatukuwa tunacheza nayo hapo awali, lakini sasa tunajaribu kupambana na hiyo system na naona kwamba imeingia. Kwa hivyo tunatarajia mema.
Further afield, Spanish giants Real Madrid edged Juventus 1-0 from Italy on Tuesday to book their FIFA Club World Cup quarter-final date against Borussia Dortmund of Germany, who narrowly beat Mexican side Monterrey 2-1. Youngster Gonzalo Garcia nodded in his third goal of this tournament to hand Madrid victory over Juventus at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. The team was also boosted by Kylian Mbappe's return from illness, coming off the bench as a second-half substitute. It was another solid performance from Xabi Alonso's side, who remain unbeaten under the new coach Xabi Alonso. Juventus manager Igor Tudor, on the other hand, admitted his side ran out of steam as the match wore on. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, Sergio Guirassy scored twice to steer Borussia Dortmund past Monterrey 2-1 in a closely contested last 16 encounter. The FIFA Club World Cup quarterfinals will kick off this Friday.
Like is Adeyemi with Rodriguez. Adeyemi still here. Guirassy again! He and they have double M money in Atlanta.
And in tennis, the 2025 French Open winner Coco Gauff was knocked out in the first round of the Wimbledon at the All England Club to become the third top 5 seed to exit the tournament in the women's draw. The American second seed was eliminated by 25-year-old Diana Yastremska, who beat her 7-6, 6-1. Four-time French Open winner Iga Swiatek survived the first round hit to proceed to the second round after defeating Russian Polina Kudermetova 7-5, 6-1. She will go head-to-head with Cathy McNay tomorrow. In the men's matches, 10 times Australian Open champion Novak Djokovic edged out Alexander Muller by 3-1, sets of 6-1, 6-7, 6-2, and 6-2 to set up a second-round match against Britain's Dan Evans. Muller will face Evans tomorrow. Third seed Alexander Zverev was forced to exit the tournament when he was knocked out by French Arthur Liderken. The 2025 Wimbledon has already claimed 4 top 10 ranked men's players.
That's an unbelievable.
Very well, and on that tennis note, we come to the end of KBC Lunchtime News this afternoon. Many thanks indeed for joining us, but we are keeping our eyes and ears peeled for more news. But you can check out our social media spaces, including our KBC digital app, for all your dose of news. More news in our subsequent bulletin. Many thanks indeed for joining us. My name is Njue. Lensa Odingo has been my colleague handling the sign language interpretation. Do have yourself a blessed afternoon.
You see, another good example. Uko na examples mingi sana za watu za kuangalia, lakini huwezi kubali.
For crying out loud.
Nikawa anazushiana.
Anazushiana na madhangu?
Relax, Buddha, take it.
We went to Mombasa to find some findings about the death of Joyce. And now it turns out that I'm not the bad guy at all.
We need to find out. Because my experience with those two, they can't be up to anything good.
Recently discovered that Ken was having an affair with your beautiful wife.
What?
The men and women in boats, they are commanded to defend and protect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Republic of Kenya. Their bravery knows no limits.
Make a man go through the wall without breaking the wall.
Laziness, it is not in our vocabulary.
But what are their stories, their tales? Military Tales, every Saturday at 9 p.m. with Njue.
Ujambo mpenzi mtazamaji, natumai ubuheri wa afya. Ni wiki nyingine tunakutana hapa katika kipindi chetu cha mkulima. Na wiki hii tumetembea katika shamba la Rhino Park Farm ambapo tunamkuta mkulima wa mayai ambaye anafuga ng'ombe wa maziwa pamoja na kuongeza dhamana katika maziwa haya ambayo anatoa katika shamba hili lake. Tupo katika eneo la Karen, mtazamaji usiondoke mbali. Wacha nimkaribishe mkulima wetu wa leo ili tuweze kujifunza mawili matatu. Bwana Omai, karibu. Sasa leo tunaanza na usafi. Yes. Naona ulikuwa unaanza na usafi hapa. Kwa hivyo ndio nataka kidogo pia nami nifanye yale mnafanya hapa katika shamba.
Karibu.
Haya. Ya tuanze katika usafi ambao nimeona wafanyika hapa. Wakati tunaingia nimepata mfanyikazi yafanya usafi wake wa awali. Je, umuhimu wa usafi katika shamba la katika nyumba ya ng'ombe ni gani?
Kwa kitu moja, usafi ina faida mara mbili. Kwa sababu hii kinyezi bado ndio tunatumia kwa biogas, na hiyo ndio inatusaidia upande